meteorologist Chase Jones.
Well, a huge shout out to all those forward deployed. I'm talking to you, Carp, and then we saw some of those Christmas clouds this morning clear out by lunchtime. Then things shot up all the way into those 60 degrees. But by New Year's next week, we could be all the way up into those 80s before the cold snap makes its way in. Now we're looking at the temperatures over the last 24 hours. Look at that cloud cover settle in last night all the way down to 50 degrees. Slowly, then we shot up as soon as those clouds cleared up by about 11 degrees into those lower 60s. And we'll see how fast we cool off or how much heat we hold on to. We were expecting some of those low clouds to make their way in by tonight with some of those mistier conditions. 61 in San Angelo, everybody else in a combination of upper 60s, mid 60s, lower 60s across the entire region. Looking pretty beautiful for Christmas. 60 up there in Sterling City, if not 59 in Robert Lee. 67 down there in Junction. If you want to count Coleman at 57 down to Junction, there's our 10 degrees while we see some of that cloud cover clear out of the way. Now we're looking at those moisture values because we're trying to get a good idea of when we can see some of that cold and wet weather at the same time. Now we're starting to make our way closer towards some of the cold weather here in the Concho Valley. Usually it arrives somewhere around January or February, but December is almost over. When we look at those dew points, they're in the 40s across the entire region, while we still see a pretty homogeneous or uniform or widespread amount of moisture in those 60s all the way down into those 40s across the entire region. Usually it's somewhere down into those 20s, and then as we make our way closer towards sunset or the evening, it pushes up near those 60-degree values. So we'll see if we don't find some of that low cloud cover tonight before it clears out of the way again by tomorrow. Now the moisture tracker will show you how we'll see some of those light greens hover around, but we have our eye on some of those higher concentrations of blues. We're going to watch it wrap around again near Dallas, and then it's going to fire off towards the east, looking pretty severe, but not here in this Concho Valley. Nothing but some clouds and some windier conditions. But we have our eye off the west coast for the next big winter weather maker. When we were talking about the upper level pattern, was talking with my production assistant earlier. We're going to watch this cutoff low hover around the Hudson Bay. Now the high pressure that usually hangs out over near the western Pacific and not the eastern Pacific is going to push back, and that's going to create some more zonal flow. Now up near the North Pole, we're starting to see some of those faster winds pull the cold air straight down from Canada, and then along the Rocky Mountains. That's where some of those areas like North Dakota will be pushing down near -12, where they're already seeing about 10 inches of snow. As a result, this next wave of cold weather is going to be pretty extreme, but down here in the Concho Valley could push us down into the 50s. But that similar pattern that shapes up could push us even colder as we get closer towards February. Right now, the plume of moisture Steeman had his eye on yesterday is circulating somewhere around Colorado, making its way into Nebraska. That's the one dumping tons of snow. Then right behind it, another monster wave really taking aim at the west coast. You can see the tail end of that cold front making its way into the Concho Valley. We are definitely next as far as cold weather and some of that windier weather. When we're looking at the severe weather outlook for today, it's spotty all across the entire nation, and that includes parts of the Concho Valley down into the Panhandle. That's where we're still keeping our eye on sort of that cold front making its way through. Right behind it, you can sort of see the snow lingering around the Rocky Mountains, but the next big storm off the west coast, cold air sliding down around Minnesota, while we see the Great Lakes still getting a break from it, but off towards the Gulf Coast region, more moisture making its way up the Mississippi River Valley, getting ready for the next wave of cold weather. When we take you down to the Concho Valley, we're watching that cloud cover clear up towards the north, but we have our eye set again for some of that low cloud cover by tonight, if not tomorrow morning, keeping our eye out for some of those mistier conditions. Look at that storm wind up near Dallas. Now we'll see waves and waves of clouds make their way through, letting us know those winds are going to be a lot more strong. Remember that zonal flow. Let's go ahead and talk about those winds while we have our eye on it. We'll see them really pick up out of the northeast pretty soon. Those warmer winds will push us up towards those 80s as we get closer towards the weekend. Then the cold snap makes its way in somewhere around Monday. So tonight, back down into those 40s, watching for the cloud cover, keeping our eye on those misty conditions. Then tomorrow, making our way up near those 60s, if not those 70s. Things clear up, but you only have 6 days left to go until 2025. So get resolution ready as we get closer towards the weekend. Remember, I'm going to go ahead and tear down these Christmas lights and get ready, pack up the tree, because the New Year's is right around the corner, but so is that cold weather. Take a good look by Monday next week, all the way up into those lower 80s. Then by New Year's Eve, all the way down into those 60s. The cold air continues. We push all the way down into those 50s, while those overnight lows push from those 50s down near those freezing marks. Stay tuned. I'm over the break. You're watching KSAN News at 5.